The basement carpet felt damp under my heel. I stood there, holding the tray of reheated lasagna like a room service bellhop, while the buzz of daytime game shows leaked through the cracked door. Upstairs, the kitchen still smelled like burnt toast. My wife, Lauren, hadn't said good morning. I want to be clear, I didn't marry Lauren for her family. Her parents, Marvin and Patrice, had always been a little intense. Not awful. Just the kind of people who leaned too close when talking, asked pointed questions like, "Do you think this job pays enough to raise a family?" 3 months into dating, and unironically used the phrase "a man should provide." But they lived 2 states away. Phone calls were tolerable, holiday visits were brief. That was the unspoken agreement, until last fall. It started with a call from Patrice while I was on my lunch break. I remember because I was eating leftover pad thai at my desk, and her ringtone cut through the office hum like a fire alarm. "Hi, sweetie," she chirped. "We're on the road." Surprise! On the road where? I asked. To you guys, didn't Lauren tell you? She hadn't. By the time I got home, a U-Haul was parked outside our house. A U-Haul, like they were moving in, not just visiting for the weekend. Marvin was standing in the driveway, directing a neighbor kid on how to unload a heavy storage ottoman. Patrice was already inside, complimenting the cozy charm of our living room and asking where she should put the linen baskets. Lauren wouldn't meet my eyes. "They're just staying a little while," she said that night, as I stood brushing my teeth with more pressure than necessary. "Dad's got sciatica, and they can't do stairs in their old place anymore." "It's just temporary, couple weeks tops. That was 6 months ago. I kept the peace at first, tried to. We cleared out the basement, a half-finished space with a small bathroom and no windows, and brought down an old mattress. I hooked up a small TV and even ran an extension cord for their heater. I told myself I was being decent, a good husband. But by week 4, the little things started to stack. Marvin borrowed my drill and left it rusted in the yard. Patrice began reorganizing the kitchen for efficiency, which meant I couldn't find a single spice jar for 3 days. They cooked entire meals at 10 in the morning and left pans in the sink like we had a dishwasher made of elves. I'd come home from work to the scent of boiled cabbage and the sound of Marvin yelling at reruns of Wheel of Fortune. They never left the house, no day trips, no hobbies, no friends in town. Just there, always there. 3 months in, I tried to talk to Lauren. I didn't pick a fight. I waited until we were both folding laundry in the bedroom, soft music playing from her phone. "Babe," I said carefully, "do your parents have a plan?" She paused, holding one of her dad's oversized flannel shirts. "A plan?" "Yeah, like, are they looking for another place? You said a few weeks." Her shoulders tensed. "It's not that simple. Dad's back is worse, and they're not doing great financially." I nodded slowly. "Okay, but it's been 3 months. I'm starting to feel like a guest in my own house." She frowned. "They're my parents, Matt." What was I supposed to do? Turn them away? "No, but maybe set a boundary or a timeline." She didn't respond, just folded the shirt into a tight square and walked out. Since then, we'd barely touched the subject. Patrice redecorated the guest bathroom without asking. New shower curtain, replaced the soap pump, even swapped out the light bulbs for some god-awful lavender hue. Marvin asked if I could help him set up an Amazon account, which somehow turned into him using my Prime to order golf polos and one of those back massage chairs that now lived in our garage. They began referring to our house as the home, as in, we'll need to trim those hedges out front. The home's got to keep up appearances. I wanted to scream. Last week, I hit my quiet limit. It was Saturday. Rainy. I was trying to finish a work presentation in the dining room while Marvin's voice boomed through the floor vents about how doctors don't know squat anymore, and Patrice ran the blender no fewer than 5 times in 1 hour. I shut my laptop and just sat there, palms flat on the table. Lauren was in the kitchen stirring something at the stove. "They need to go," I said. Not loud, just steady. She turned. "Excuse me?" I can't live like this. I feel like I'm suffocating in my own house. They're your family too. No, they're not. They're yours. And they didn't ask. They just showed up. And now they've unpacked like they're waiting to be buried here. She flinched at that. We didn't talk for the rest of the day. And yet somehow I found myself the next morning warming up lasagna for their lunch tray because Patrice had a touch of something and didn't want to come upstairs. I carried it down, avoided the water stain on the third step, knocked gently, and waited. Marvin grunted from inside. "Door's open." I pushed it in with my foot. The room smelled like foot powder and old cologne. Patrice was under a pile of blankets, watching The Price is Right. Marvin was reclined in a folding chair with his iPad on his belly. I set the tray on the folding table. Neither of them looked up. "Lunch," I said. "No thanks, no smile. Just Marvin adjusting the volume with his toes." I turned to leave. "Matt?" Patrice's voice softer now. I paused. "We were wondering if you could help us look into property taxes next week. This place might qualify for some exemptions if it's considered multi-generational housing." I stood there. I could hear the rain picking up outside, tapping the window well like a metronome. My throat dried out. "Sure," I said. Then I went upstairs and shut the door to my office, sat on the floor, and stared at the wall for 15. I was halfway through changing the furnace filter when I saw Marvin's damn humidifier plugged into the breaker again. He'd strung the cord around the pipes like it was a Christmas decoration. I didn't even bother cooling down, I just yanked it. I guess this is the part where I admit something uncomfortable. It wasn't just about the noise, or the smell, or the never-ending parade of takeout containers in my trash bin. It was about Lauren. She'd started sleeping with her phone under her pillow. She flinched when I touched her shoulder. Her eyes always darted toward the floor vent whenever I brought something up. We hadn't had sex in almost 6 weeks. And yeah, I counted. At first, I told myself she was just tired. Work had been rough on her, and her parents had a way of vacuuming the oxygen out of any room. But then I caught her whispering to Patrice late one night in the hallway, and I swear I heard the words, "just until he understands." I didn't ask. I didn't want to know. Instead, I started escaping. I'd take the long way home from work just to sit in the truck and listen to old podcasts I didn't even like anymore. I started volunteering to do every grocery run, even if we only needed one thing. I found myself driving out to the Target 2 towns over just to walk through the aisles without anyone talking at me. I wasn't happy, but at least I was alone. Then came the dog. One Thursday afternoon, I came home to find Marvin in the driveway holding a squirming, flea-bitten Jack Russell Terrier. "His name's Duke," he said, like this was all very normal. "He followed me home from the park." Patrice says it's a sign. "A sign of what?" He shrugged. "Companionship." I blinked. "We're not getting a dog, Marvin." He grinned and held Duke out like a prize. The dog promptly peed on my shoe. Marvin laughed like it was the best joke he'd heard in years. Lauren defended it, of course, said it was good for her dad's mood, that he hadn't smiled in months. "I get that," I said, stripping my sock in the laundry room, "but who's going to walk it? Feed it? Pay the vet bills?" They said they'd take care of it. They also said they were staying for 2 weeks. She didn't have a comeback for that one. The following Sunday, I found Marvin asleep on the couch with Duke chewing one of my work boots like it owed him money. I snapped. I didn't yell. That would have been easy. Instead, I picked up the boot, walked into the kitchen, and started gathering every single item that didn't belong to me. I made a pile. On the table, right in the middle, the boot, Patrice's gluten-free bread mix, Marvin's nasal spray, a stack of Reader's Digests from 2004, that damn wooden live, laugh, love sign Patrice insisted on hanging over the sink. When Lauren came in, she stopped dead. "What's this?" "A boundary," I said. Her arms crossed. "What does that mean?" "It means I want a house again. A home, not a halfway zone." "They're not criminals, Matt." "No, they're squatters with health insurance." She flinched. "That's not fair." What is fair, Lauren? That I pay the mortgage and Marvin treats me like the intern who broke his coffee machine? That I can't sit on my own deck because your mum's using it to dry bras? That I've become the third adult in my own marriage? She looked down. I didn't ask for this either, she said, voice smaller. Then why did you let it happen? She didn't answer, just quietly began moving the pile to the side of the table. The next day they had a family meeting. Except I wasn't invited. I heard them through the vents, low voices, a few sharp words, then silence. That night, Lauren came into our room after brushing her teeth and said, "They're going to start paying a portion of the utilities." I blinked. What? They feel bad. They want to contribute. That's not the point. I know, but it's a start. No apology, no timeline, just a start. I started spending more time at the gym. I don't even like lifting, but the clang of weights and strangers ignoring each other felt like a kind of peace. A guy named Jordan from work invited me to his poker night. I went, lost $40 and didn't care. Stayed till 2 in the morning. When I got home, Duke barked like I was an intruder. Marvin came up the stairs in his bathrobe and said, "Some of us sleep, you know." I looked him dead in the eye. Not my problem. Then, a week later, something shifted. I came home on a Thursday and found Patrice at the kitchen table, crying softly into a paper towel. Lauren was rubbing her back. "Everything okay?" I asked. Patrice looked up with puffy eyes. "We got a notice from the DMV. Apparently we still had mail going to our old address. They flagged us for vehicle registration non-compliance. There could be fines." I nodded slowly. "That sucks." Silence. Lauren gave me a look. "What?" I asked. "They might need help sorting it out." I sighed. "Let me guess, you want me to call for them?" "No," Lauren said. "They want you to call." I walked into the basement later that night. First time in weeks. The air was stale and wet, like the inside of a camping cooler. Marvin was hunched over the massage chair, rubbing his temple. "They think I'm dead," he muttered. "That's why the letter came." I raised an eyebrow. "Dead? Got marked deceased in some stupid system when we forwarded mail." I paused. "Do you want me to help or not?" He looked up at me, first time I'd seen him really look in weeks. "Would you?" he asked, quietly. And just like that, I remembered he was a person, not a cartoon, not an obstacle, just a tired old man with a bad back, too much pride, and nowhere else to go. I called the DMV, sat on hold for 40 minutes, sorted it out. No fine, just a paperwork glitch. Marvin thanked me. Patrice offered me a cookie. Lauren smiled. For about 3 days, things were okay. Then came the mailbox incident, but I'll get to that. The mailbox wasn't broken, just bent, like someone had leaned on it too long without noticing it was giving way. I stood there, fingers on the cool metal, wondering how much pressure it took before things stopped bouncing back. I didn't see it happen. I came home on a Tuesday after a long shift, my third 12-hour in a row, and found the mailbox flattened at a 45-degree angle, its base cracked and leaning toward the curb like it had given up. There were tire tracks in the grass. I parked, got out, and just stared at it for a while. The bills were still inside, smushed. One of them was damp from a leak. Inside the house, I didn't say anything, not yet. I made it halfway to the kitchen before Patrice called out from the basement stairwell. "Matt!" Just a heads up, we had a little parking mishap this morning. I stopped walking. Lauren was at the sink, rinsing lettuce. She kept her eyes on the faucet. "Mishap," I said. Marvin's voice floated up through the vents. "Slippery morning." Tires caught the curb. "We'll fix it, like everything else. Like the overflowing garage, the dinged-up deck rail, the warped floorboard in the hallway that Marvin meant to get to after his sciatica flared up again. That night, I sat on the edge of the bed, turning the bent mailbox key in my fingers. Lauren was brushing her hair, staring at her reflection like it held answers I couldn't give her. "I want a separation," I said. Her brush stopped mid-stroke. The silence between us swelled like a balloon. Is this because of my parents? It's because I don't recognize our life anymore. Her mouth opened, closed. I know this isn't what we planned, she said eventually. No, I said. What we planned was a home, not a waiting room. She didn't cry, didn't yell. She just asked, what happens next? We give each other space. I'll move in with Jordan for a while, figure things out, without the noise. Lauren didn't argue. She just nodded and said she'd tell her parents. The next morning, Patrice cornered me in the kitchen before work. You're leaving? She asked, hands clasped tight around her coffee mug. For now? You're abandoning her. I kept my voice steady. I'm choosing not to abandon myself. Marvin didn't say anything, just gave me a look when I came down to grab the last of my toolbox from the garage. Not anger, not smugness. Something heavier, like he finally understood the cost. A week passed, then 2. Lauren and I texted about logistics, bills, car insurance, who was picking up Duke's flea medication. Nothing personal. Until one Thursday, I came home to my temporary room at Jordan's place and found a small package on the stoop. No return address. Inside was a new mailbox key and a note. They're leaving in 2 weeks. We found them a condo near my cousin. I told them, I meant it. I miss you. L. 2 weeks later, I drove past the house. The U-Haul was back, smaller this time. Marvin was sitting on the bumper, holding Duke's leash, while Patrice directed a teenager lifting boxes. I didn't stop, but I slowed down, and for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel like I was the one out of place. 3 months later, Lauren and I started couples counseling. The first session was awkward, the second cracked something open, the third she cried. She said, I thought taking care of them meant being a good daughter. I didn't realize it meant losing us. I told her I didn't blame her. Not really. I blamed our silence. And I promised to never go quiet again. We're not back to normal. I don't even know what that means anymore. But last weekend we fixed the mailbox together, bought a new post, picked out a sleek black one with a pull-down front and our initials etched in silver. We stood there after digging the hole, sweaty and tired, and I looked at her and said, let's keep this one standing. She nodded, not as a promise, as a choice.